Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and life coach Wendy Dillard here. Today is Tuesday, May the 1st, 2018, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Your second daily dose of happy for the day. And May 1st, I just realized that's a significant day. That's May Day, isn't it? So
yeah, I don't even know what May Day actually represents. Do you?
I believe it's a day of fertility, but I can't remember that for sure. I know it's the day when they, generations ago, they put up the maypole and all the young ladies would grab the ribbons around the maypole and go around the maypole. But beyond that, I can't tell you a whole lot now.
Okay. I kind of remember when I was in grade school, we used to do a maypole with ribbons and jump around it. But I don't think we knew why we were doing it. We just had fun doing it.
I could be wrong, but spring, fertility, it kind of goes together. So, yeah, I think that's probably what it was, something like that. Which is good, and it was light, and it was lighthearted. That's the kind of thing that we need more of these days. So I'm not saying bring back maypoles, but
fertility works with law of attraction.
It certainly does. Oh yeah, in a big way.
I mean, we give birth to new things all the time,
constantly.
In our creativity. So yeah, that's a good thing.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and today is a gorgeous day. I actually have the house open, so it's a little bit of a risk today to see can we do the podcast without all kinds of background noises coming in. But I'm willing to risk it because it's gorgeous outside. I mean, it's low 70s. It's blue skies. There was a breeze coming through the window. I'm loving it. I even got in a 10-mile bike ride, and I'm just, I'm feeling so good right now. So, yeah, good day, good day. Oh, and on top of that, I also have some news. I finished editing the book. I have finished it. Yeah. So I'm sending out the manuscript probably tomorrow to all the authors so that everybody can review the work. I mean, it's just a question now of putting the cover together and actually we'll have to decide which cover, but yeah, we're real close. We're real close.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
so good stuff. So happy stuff happening at this end. How about your end?
Oh, what about I thought you said something about the year end, and I was waiting for more.
Oh, the year end.
What about on my
sorry,
end?
That's New Englandese for your end.
On my end, well, yesterday, near the end of the show, we were starting to talk about quantum leaps a little bit, and I was talking about something that I was going through, and I kind of broke down in a moment of a couple tears when I was sharing my perspective of what I was experiencing and the feelings I was having as I'm moving towards Project X, which is about me having new financial freedom in my life and having new income streams. And one of the things I said is I was going to work on it last night, and I had already set up a call with one of my good friends who's also a life coach, because, life coaches use life coaches too.
Smart people.
Because sometimes, sometimes I'm able to work through my own stuff by myself because I have a lot of tools and I can do that and I know what I'm looking for. But when I find that I keep going down the same road and I just can't move through it, like I keep asking the same questions, but nothing's really lighting up or popping for me, that's when I phone a friend, And,
phone a friend, I love it.
So that's what I did. And we maybe talked for about an hour or so. And, I'll just explain what it looks like on my end, what this process is, because we're all capable of doing this. But I just started saying, here's what I'm working on. Here's what I bumped up against. I have this feeling, and I don't really know how to clear it or how to move it. But every time I feel this feeling, which was connected to, I started out with saying, when I think about a deadline that I'm arbitrarily setting, it feels really icky inside of me. It feels uncomfortable. And since the April 1st date has come and passed, I was like, now what? So do I go with my default, which is where I started, which is June 30th? But it just didn't feel good. And as I had worked on it by myself, I kind of was remembering how there have been many times I've tried to initiate something with my own personal deadline, and it just didn't work. It failed. And the only deadlines I managed to do is when it comes from the exterior world. If a boss says I have a deadline, or, I need X amount of dollars to pay a bill by a certain time, that's a deadline. Those I'm able to do quite well. So that's where I started with my coaching friend. Her name's Rhonda. And, I just said, here's where I am. And here's the cool thing about when you're working with somebody who's kind of on the same level or a higher level. Because like if you're a beginner and you don't know what to look for, you need someone who's more advanced sometimes to work through something where, you know, me and Rhonda are peers.
Right.
And she just said, you know, okay, so here's some energy that I'm reading, and, you know, this is what I'm sensing. And it kind of spurred me to go, oh, well, here's this other stuff I've been thinking about. And it was interesting because I kind of expressed a patchwork of different thoughts that I've had over time, maybe over the last 4 months, a little bit thinking here, a little bit thinking there, but I didn't really know what to do with it. And, you know, she was asking some questions, and, you know, I'll be honest, there was some stuff she was saying that didn't resonate with me. There were some strategies that she was providing. And I said back to her, I said, you know, those are excellent strategies, but right now I feel like it's too early to go to strategy because I'm working on belief system. In other words, you need belief, an underlying belief to support strategies.
Absolutely.
I said, I'm not there yet. And she went, okay, cool, no problem. You know, so it's not like any coach just knows exactly what to say. We bounce around until we find something that lands. And so, you know, she said, all right, so where do you want to go from here? And I said, well, here's the thought that's popping up in my head. I said, somehow this feeling is connected to my dad. And she goes, okay, well, what else do you know about that? And it was like the thoughts started to come. And as it did, I like went into sobbing tears like a little girl.
Wow.
And that's when you know you've hit pay dirt.
Yeah, I would say so.
You know, and I don't ever get upset when I cry. I don't feel embarrassed or ashamed that I've cried. You know, it's kind of like what it does is it tells me there's incredible intensity in what I'm remembering. And what I said was, and I can do it now without tears, what I said was, I busted my dad's balloons. He would get an idea about how to generate income that was so exciting to him. But in my life, or the way I saw it, how it was represented was it was a pie in the sky idea. It was so grandiose, and it was so beyond anything he had ever done or anything beyond anybody in our family had ever done. And I discouraged him from following through on those kinds of job opportunities. And what feeling came through to me last night was, oh my God, I am all about encouraging people to reach for the stars today. And if I believe in something, I know law of attraction has a way to bring it about. Now, I didn't know that when I was a teenager, when I was busting my dad's balloon. And why I was in so much angst last night and so much turmoil and pain is because I realized that what I'm wanting to do in my life is what he had wanted to do, but I discouraged him.
Wow.
Now, I don't believe that my discouragement stopped him from moving through. I honestly don't think he would have known even how to do it, but I am not a discourager. Who I am today is an incredible encourager. And I felt so guilty for doing that to my dad. Even though this is like probably 40 years past the time that happened,
Oh, yeah.
I was just feeling this incredible guilt. Like, who do I think I am that I can do the thing that my dad wanted to do, but I've discouraged him from doing it? What makes me think I should be able to do that today? And it was as though I was punishing myself for being who I was then and having the perception I did then. And kind of like in a moment, after just releasing the tears and feeling the feelings, there was an internal knowing of like, my dad doesn't hold me accountable for that today, and he has passed on. And Rhonda even said to me, I'll bet your dad is the one like stirring this up and letting you know, hey, let go of that.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, like live your dream, go for it. And she asked me some other questions about my family. And, I realized that generationally, my family has always lived hand to mouth. And even the parts of my family that came from other countries and settled in the United States, they worked really, really hard for their money. Some had some businesses, but they all struggled to do what they were doing. There was no such thing as ease and flow, the way we talk about it with law of attraction.
Well, that was the American dream. You come, you work hard, and you become prosperous. That was the dream.
And I don't know that my family anywhere in our lineage ever became truly prosperous. I mean, some had some level of money, but no one was actually wealthy. They just were okay. And Rhonda just said, so are you ready, or are you willing to let go of this generational thing where your family just got by? Are you willing to really be who you came into this life to be and to do? And I went, yeah, I am. And I know that going way beyond what my family has done is what I'm reaching for. And I know it's possible. Like for me personally, I know it's possible. But that feeling that I had where I felt like I couldn't take it beyond what my dad had done because I felt guilty to do so really was a giant anchor weighting me down, keeping me from what I really desire.
Oh, of course.
But I didn't know it until I knew it.
Well, we never do.
And I said to Rod, I said, the truth is that memory has popped up numerous times for me as I've been going through this journey towards Project X, but never with this level of insightfulness.
Mm-hmm. That's the cool part. That's the very cool part, because I know for myself, I have very similar stuff in my family's background. Not the same exactly, but certainly fear of scarcity. Always scraping to get by. I had a grandfather who was an investor in real estate, but he was basically a slumlord because he really wasn't very good at it. Not because he was a mean person. It's just that's what he turned into, because he just wasn't very good at it. I mean, nobody that I can think of in my family has ever been really successful on any major level. Probably the most successful ones were my dad and my uncle, and their success came in being hired by General Electric when they were in their teens and just working there for all their lives, so that by the time they retired, they were making good money. But I mean, certainly not great money, certainly not entrepreneurial money. Nobody's ever had that. And I've had plenty of examples of debt, people struggling to get by in many ways. So, I mean, I think a lot of us have that kind of story in the background. And it's really interesting that you were able to not only dig into that, but you actually hit gold. You really hit a real big sore spot and released it. That's pretty cool.
And I will tell you that in my experience, even like what I just explained, I've had this memory pop up from time to time, but I never really knew what to do with the memory. And the feelings were never appearing to me as really strong and intense. It would just be a memory.
Mm-hmm.
But see, right now, and this is what we kind of talked about yesterday and on other shows, is as you're working towards attaining something you desire, which that's what I'm doing with Project X. Project X is me coming into new financial income streams where I'm able to let go of, what I'm currently doing, which is very limited, and allow law of attraction to just expand my world. And because I have such a strong desire to see that through, I know that that's the reason why, even though this memory has surfaced before, now I was able to dig into it, because it's like it felt as though I cannot continue to move forward. Do not pass go, do not collect $200.
Yeah, right.
I could not get beyond where I was until I unearthed this feeling that didn't feel good to me. I had to figure it out. And the nice thing is I have been thinking about it since yesterday, since Rhonda and I ended our call. And, at first I'll say that I felt I don't know if numb is the right word, but I didn't have any particular like, woohoo, I'm free.
Mhm.
There was relief. There was absolute relief. And there was a desire to really kind of think about what that experience meant to me. And so I've processed it a little bit more by just thinking about it. And some of the thoughts I've had are, because I was really honing in on the fact that I felt so guilty. And guilty is not a word I use very often. And so the fact that I was feeling this incredible remorse and guilt, oh, what is that about? And I realized there was nothing for me to truly feel guilty about because at the time I was a teenager and I was discouraging here's the irony. I was discouraging my father from pursuing his dreams. But you know who taught me to discourage people?
Probably him.
My father.
I'm
my
sure.
father.
Yeah.
He was always critical. Always, always, always critical.
Which means
and there was a point.
It means that what you fed back to him was basically a form of LOA for him. He'd been putting it out for years, and you got it back.
And that's exactly what I was receiving yesterday. Is like I was matching his energy.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have discouraged him if he really believed in it, because we really were a match. Because he wanted it, but he didn't have a belief system to support it.
That's so
and
critical.
So I would say that again.
I said that's so critical to have that belief system that supports whatever your dream is. Because if you don't have the belief system, you don't have a prayer.
Well, if you don't have a belief system, it can't come about. I mean, law of attraction pretty much says that all day long.
Yeah.
Because our belief system, even if we don't know that we have a particular belief that's in contradiction to the thing we desire, it will be the thing that keeps us from achieving it.
Right.
And, over these last 4 months that I have been working diligently on creating Project X in my current reality, I've had lots of bumps and speed bumps along the way. Yep. And I've looked at each one as it's popped up and gone, okay, I could see why this is, making a lot of money and being wealthy or being really rich. And Rhonda was saying to me, she said, the word rich just really fits you. So I'm like, okay, it sounds okie dokie to me too.
Nice. Yeah. Hey, that sounds, I would take that. Yeah.
But to be really rich, I've had so many beliefs that haven't supported that. Well, no wonder it hasn't come about. But I'm at a point now that I'm so committed to making this a reality in my lifetime that nothing's going to stand in my way. And I am willing to knock over every boulder of resistance that there is. But what I just shared with you is not the end to the story. As I was thinking about, hey, I was a matching component to my dad. And I didn't know any different because I'd never been taught anything different. And he's the one who taught me how to be very critical and to be discouraging. But here's something that to me is really important. I asked my inner being, I said, where do I go from here now? And the question, it was almost like I received this question, which is, well, how do you feel? And I'm like, I feel buoyant. I feel better. I feel relief. I feel like I'm light and airy and like there's lots of spaciousness within me as I move forward. Right now, I don't feel like anything's tethering me. Now, it doesn't mean that there won't be some more things if I take 10 more steps forward.
Right.
But right now, where I am with that thing that had to do with my dad and guilt, that feels like, yeah, I completed that because I don't feel bad about it anymore. I don't feel guilty about it anymore.
That's good.
I feel very encouraged that the sky really is my limit.
Yeah.
And who knows what's beyond the sky.
Well,
so maybe there is no limit at all.
Yeah, well, that's the vibration you want to get. That's what you're aiming at. So, I mean, you've gotten back to that, what Abraham calls the high-flying place, the high-flying dish. You've gotten there. You're back there. That's good.
I'm there. And, as Rhonda had mentioned these certain strategic things, it was fascinating because all day long today, I've been able to very easily imagine myself where I want to be, imagining myself doing what I want to be doing, and feeling the joy of doing that. And as I got off the phone with her, I felt like my inner being said something very concrete to me.
Ooh.
I had the image of my day job, and what I heard was, don't ever talk about it again.
Whoa.
And I knew what that meant because I think I've said it sometimes on the show, but I've said it to other people who are asking me. I'll say, well, I still have a day job. And that's the phrase that has to go.
Yeah.
And so I'll let this be the last time I say it, only to describe it. But there is an energy, this is what I understood last night, there is an energy present every time I say that, that keeps me anchored to the past that I'm wanting to exit.
Makes sense.
And so I'm seeing, okay, it's time to start shifting the energy away from what I no longer want and move it towards what I do want. Now, here's another little interesting caveat. In the past, I mean, even yesterday, the past, or the day before the past, it was not easy sometimes for me to be in the imagination of what it is I desire. Now, yesterday in our book, The Law of Attraction, we read about the difference between imagination and visualization. And imagination is where you're creating kind of a brand new picture of what you desire. And I have to say, that's something that only when I receive it from my inner being, when I receive a new imagination, I have it in that moment. But after that, it's hard to go back and like capture its intensity again. And I've come to believe, and unless there's something that proves me different, I believe that when you have a hard time focusing on the future that you desire, or focusing on the images that you've had in the, about what you desire, if you're having a hard time, it means there's still resistance. Because when it's easy and it's like you can't stop thinking about what's desired, there's nothing keeping you from it, because it's like just a continual movie cycle. So like today, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm at my computer and I'm doing various daily tasks. And yet my mind is so engaged in these images of where I'm taking myself to, being with clients, having conversations, seeing the aha moments light up in their face, while we're doing fun activities, while we're talking about, how to change their life. Because I'm kind of getting the sense that I want to do life makeovers.
Okay.
Not just coaching here and there. I want to help somebody transform their whole life, because a lot of people have a lifetime of thinking that doesn't work well for them. And it could take a long time to change it little by little, except if you're Walt Thiessen, because you are like cranking like nobody's business.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you.
But it's like, I want to be involved in life makeovers. We're working on stuff on a continual basis, where I'm almost shadowing people in their lives, or sometimes it's on the phone, sometimes it's in person. But it's like I was seeing my vision for my future expanding in a new way, and the pictures were just flowing today, like it was just on a looped video reel. I just kept seeing things over and over. And I will tell you, in the past, it has felt kind of difficult to make myself get into that place. But I could tell the feelings were very present as well. Like, oh, this feels so good. This is what I've lived for. This is what my whole life feels like it's been moving towards. It's like, oh, this feels so good. And so I do feel as though I have had a giant belief change, or a giant quantum leap, because yesterday I was feeling guilty about moving beyond the financial status that my family had. And I now moved into, I'm moving on up, kind of like the Jeffersons theme song. And I even saw myself while I was working with Rhonda yesterday. I got this image of, now I'm a white woman, so this is not my history, but I've seen it plenty of times on television, where there's a black family that lives in the projects, and their son has been accepted to go to an Ivy League school. And some of the neighborhood is very jealous because they want to be able to do what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And this young kid who has now been accepted into an Ivy League school, he knows that he's going to be the first one in his neighborhood to get out of the projects and make something of himself. But he does so with a knowing that he's setting a new standard for the entire neighborhood. And that's the feeling I have with my scenario. I feel like I am breaking through the projects, if you will, of my family lineage and the people around me, and I'm setting a new standard. I don't have to live a life of paycheck to paycheck anymore. I don't have to live a life where there's always a financial limit on what's possible. I'm breaking through. I've just been granted a scholarship into an Ivy League life.
And I think
that, in a sense, is my new belief.
Which is a cool one. And I think it's really interesting that you're talking about, first of all, you did have a very reasonable and likable example of a quantum leap, which is cool. But you're also talking about helping other people with life makeovers. Well, that's helping them with quantum leaps. So you're basically saying, I'm embracing quantum leaps as my main way of doing things going forward, not only for myself, but for my coaching business.
Well, and yes, that's exactly where I was headed with this. Because when you and I were talking at the end of yesterday's show, and we were reading the part in the book where Abraham talks about quantum leaps, you and I talked further about this when we got off the show, because our conversation continued.
As it often does.
And yes, I said what was so fascinating to me is somehow, even though I've been aware of Abraham's perspective about quantum leaps for a very long time, I never caught this one aspect, which you said, and it shifted everything for me. You said Abraham is speaking to beginners. And I said, oh, I'm not a beginner. In no way, shape, or form am I a beginner at this work.
You're not even intermediate.
And some 20 years ago, I took some courses in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and I was certified in all that comes with that course. And ironically, one of the processes I learned is called belief change process. And so what Abraham said is they don't highly recommend quantum leaps for the express reason that it's really discouraging to people if they are a beginner, because they said a quantum leap requires a complete shift from one belief to another.
And staying there.
And yes, and most people don't have the skill in order to do that. And so that's why they recommend taking your existing beliefs and just kind of like stretching and expanding them a little bit more until eventually your belief evolves into a better belief, or that can believe in more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess because the nature of who I am, I always have wanted, since the time I was a kid, I remember saying, I want more. And someone would ask me, well, what do you want to do in your life? What do you want? I said, I just want more. More of what? Everything. And other people looked at me like she doesn't know what she wants. You know what? I've always known what I've wanted. I want more. I want it bigger. I want it better. I want it faster. I want more.
I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what they're talking about. I think you made it very clear what you wanted. You wanted a whole lot more. That's pretty straightforward, I think.
I want everything, and I want more of it. And so I remember, of all the things I learned in NLP, of all the things I learned from Tony Robbins, of all the things I've learned in any course I've ever done, everything comes down to my awareness of when you change your belief to a new, powerful belief, your life shifts in such incredibly magical, dramatic ways. And when I started doing that some 20 years ago, I was hooked. It's like, oh, no little change was okie dokie for me anymore, because I had the taste of making a big change. And I liked big change
I
because
don't
big
blame you.
equals more to me.
Oh, sure. Yeah, understandable.
So I got this awareness yesterday, and I was sharing it with you, that I have been doing quantum leaps on a regular basis under the guise of minimizing quantum leaps because, well, Abraham didn't like it. And I really did understand Abraham talking about small incremental steps that you can sustain. I totally believe in that. And there has been an aspect of my personal development that has been done in small incremental steps. And that's how I've gotten to where I've gotten. And simultaneously, there are certain things in my life where I just do big old huge belief changes. I don't stretch a belief. I blow up a belief.
Blow it up, yeah.
And get it. I blow it up and I replace it with one that's so much more potent, so much better. And so when I look at just my scenario from overnight, I went from believing, who am I to dare to actually have monetary success? Because I should feel guilty, and I did feel guilty that I persuaded my father not to follow his dream. So my whole belief was, I can't leave the mediocrity of the financial means that I know to blow that up. And I did. I blew up that belief system to, there is nothing that's going to keep me back, because isn't it Marianne? I know it's Marianne Williamson who says, keeping small doesn't benefit anybody. And Abraham says, if you know someone who is financially struggling, you financially struggling cannot help them. But if you are financially successful, you can either give them a gift to help them or provide a model for how it can be done.
Sure.
But playing small and being broke, for me, doesn't help anybody.
Oh, no,
and
not
it
at all.
sure as heck doesn't help me, and it doesn't feel good.
So the path that you're on then is, like we were saying, you are totally embracing quantum leaping. And
yep.
I suspect there are a lot of listeners who are saying, whoa, how do I get into some of that quantum leaping stuff myself? The difficulty, of course, like you pointed out, is it depends very strongly on where you are in your own LOA development. So for somebody who isn't perhaps quite there yet, what can you tell them in terms of, besides being patient, because we don't want to tell people to be patient, what can they do to get themselves to the point where they can start trying to do quantum leaps without, losing ground in the process?
I believe the reason, like quantum leaps for me today, are sometimes so simple it blows my mind. And I'm going to get to your question, but I want to lay this foundation.
Okay.
But 20 years ago, when I was learning how to do belief changes, it was hard. I knew the process, but it was hard. And because I didn't have the relationship with my inner being that I have today to get to know how to follow guidance. So it was all kind of a hit or miss proposition.
Mm-hmm.
But the two things that I have going for me today that make it easy is I have developed through much practice, which is trial and error, but through much practice, I developed a relationship with my inner being. So I have guidance on tap. And if you have nothing else, start paying attention to feelings, because your feelings hold the answers. And the second thing is why even making the transition, blowing up the old belief yesterday to the new belief today, which is, I can have whatever I truly want, and there is no financial ceiling for me. The reason I can do that is because I have spent a lot of time developing other beliefs that support this belief. I really understand how law of attraction works. So my belief in the different aspects of law of attraction undergird what I went through yesterday. It was easy for me to go, oh, well, I was matching my dad's energy. Oh, and by the way, my dad's the one who taught me to be a discourager.
Right.
So I didn't do anything bad to him. I just did what I knew. And now he's on the other side, and he's saying, oh, blow up that crap that I taught you, because I didn't know what I was doing back then.
That's funny.
But, my belief in people transitioning to the other side and connecting with me, that's a belief that's very powerful and potent in my current day experience. So if what I'm saying, so I've said two things. One, I have a powerful relationship with my inner being to have incredible guidance on tap. And two, I have really good other positive beliefs that support me getting new beliefs easily.
Right.
So how do you get those things? If you're starting from ground zero and like everything in your life is negative and you have crappy beliefs, well, then start listening to stuff like our show and other teachers and YouTubes and Abraham Hicks and anything you can get your hands on that when you read it or listen to it makes you feel empowered. Not just good, but empowered. Where it makes you feel like, oh my gosh, this is more than I've ever known before. Like where I am, like in this moment, I'm feeling very invincible. Now, every book you read, you don't have to end up feeling invincible, but it gives you if it gives you a feeling of empowerment, like you're more capable than you ever knew you were, that's the kind of book you want to keep reading. That's the kind of teachers you want to listen to. And I didn't get to where I am by reading a book every now and then or listening to a nice audio every now and again.
I can actually, yes, I can second the motion and say Wendy definitely does not just listen to something occasionally.
No, I mean, we're talking consistent. And I learned this concept from Tony Robbins.
Oh, really?
He said, if you want to really change your life, listen to stuff, surround yourself with good stuff, good information, good teachers, anything that will empower you, and do it repetitively, do it with intensity, and do it with incredible frequency, and which he called immersion. And so I have been living a life of immersion for decades. When I want to learn something or I want to do something new, I immerse myself in that new topic.
And I have to say, you do it more than anybody else I've ever heard of, to be perfectly honest, including the other co-hosts. I mean, I don't know if anybody else who goes through the entire Abraham Hicks Masters program, which is where you get all the CDs and the DVDs of all the different workshops, and listen to each one 3 times. I don't know of anyone who does that. I mean, I can't think of a single human being I know who does that. That's immersion.
And that's my personality. I've turned what you could call an addictive personality. I'm really not addictive anymore. There was a quality of that, but there is a part of me that loves immersion. It totally fits who I am. I rarely come up for air when I'm doing something that feeds my soul. So my recommendation to people is do something that feeds your soul, where you know that it's making you be more of who you really are. And pay attention to your feelings. Those to me are like the two things. Surround yourself with good stuff and start paying attention to your feelings, because that's your guidance. So if you're at square one right now, start doing that. And over time, you'll be shocked at how much your life begins to take on a new shape or a new form. Because right now, trying to go for a quantum leap, you might be able to do it for one thing, but your ability to sustain it, if you have a whole bunch of disempowering beliefs, becomes slim. But I've set myself up for success by constantly revisiting ideas and saying, do I really believe that? Is that really true for me? Well, what do I want to believe? And I set myself up to believe things that are powerful. I believe things that make me feel empowered. So
if somebody's at a step one position, they're pretty much a beginner and they know it, and they're just starting to learn this stuff. They're the ones who you're talking about when you say Learn to get in touch with your feelings, be aware of what you're feeling all the time, and just immerse yourself into this stuff, and just spend as much time studying the stuff that really resonates with you. So
And
okay.
start asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you've never been a question asker, this is also something I learned from Tony Robbins. He says the quality of your life is dependent upon the quality of your questions.
Yeah, that's true.
And some people never ask themselves questions.
Really? That's hard to
Oh,
believe.
yeah. And I think, it was in 95 that I was really doing a lot of Tony Robbins stuff. That's when I started. And I think I used to ask questions, but not to the extent that I started asking questions after I started really learning from Tony Robbins.
Ah, okay.
I mean, I ask questions perpetually. I
Got it.
never stop asking questions.
Right. Okay. Now, we've discussed what to do if you're a beginner. What if you're somebody, we'll call it intermediate? You've been doing some stuff with law of attraction for a while. You've actually manifested some stuff. Some stuff's a little bit still fuzzy, but you're getting a handle on it. How about for somebody like that who's attracted to quantum leaps? What do they need to do to get themselves to the point where they can do it and stay in that high vibration place after they've made a leap?
Well, honestly, you don't have to manually work to stay in a high vibration place. Once you've made the belief change, you just are there. It's like you've got a new address.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, the new belief I have today, I don't have to do anything to keep that. It's now who I am. And that to me is why I know it's a quantum leap, because it doesn't feel wobbly. My new belief where I am now doesn't feel wobbly. Doesn't feel like I'm going to lose it. It feels so solid, like it's cement, except that it's not so fixed that it doesn't have space for flexibility to improve even more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
I would say, based on all that I've been through recently, I think the best thing that anybody in an intermediate place can do is set a goal for yourself. Set some new something you want to shoot for, and let yourself move along the process so you can bump into things that are speed bumps. So you've got some resistance to work with. And then when you have the resistance, feel into it. Ask it questions. Find out what it's about until you get an internal resonance that says, this is the thing that's been holding this icky thing in place. And then once you know what it is, like for me, once I knew my guilt of surpassing the family financial structure, that was the thing that was holding me tethered and that was anchoring me to what didn't feel good. Then it was easy to say, okay, inner being, what is it that you think and see on this subject that I didn't see before? And then it's like it just sort of floated up to the top for me. And I believe that's how easy it can be. Now, when I learned it in NLP, it was a tedious process to do a belief change. And a lot of times that was because I was working with people or myself where I didn't have other belief systems to support where I was going. And so I did what I would call little belief changes.
Which makes sense.
Now I'm doing mega belief changes.
Right.
Things that shift a lot. So like even the belief change I did last night, that's not going to affect only my financial situation. That's going to affect every part of my life. That affects my weight. That affects my relationships. That affects what I think about just about everything.
Oh yeah, I would think it would be sweeping throughout every aspect of your life.
Mm-hmm. But I will say, if you're at what you feel maybe you're at a beginner level, not just you, for you, Walt, I'm just saying to anybody in general.
No, I get it.
If somebody feels like, well, I can't do what Wendy's doing because she's way advanced, take advantage of paying attention to your feelings. We have them. They're free. They're going on all the time. Start getting invested and curious in understanding what your feelings are actually telling you. And I'll be honest with you, and this is not because I'm wanting your money because it doesn't matter if it's me or someone else. If you want to move fast, hire a coach. Hire a coach, and not just anybody. Don't just look somebody up on the internet and go, yep, that's the one. Find out about them. Test them out. Get to know their personality. How do they work? And if they resonate with you, hire a coach, because a coach will help take you farther and faster. If you do it all yourself, it doesn't mean you can't. It's just that it will be more slow going.
I think it's probably a general human thing, but I'd be willing to bet that, first of all, most people don't realize that reputable coaches usually offer the first call for free, so you can't get a chance to to know them. And second of all, it probably never occurs to anybody to try one after another after another. And if they do think about it, they say, oh, well, that takes too much time. Which, of course, is self-defeating. But nevertheless, I mean, that's the way to do it. You have to do it if you want to find the right coach. You have to make enough calls until you finally get that one person who you feel like you really connect with, and you get this sense, boy, this person can really help me take that quantum leap.
And I'll be honest with you, I used to offer, single sessions, and because somebody would say, well, that's all the money I have is just to afford you for one session. But you know what? I always felt like I shortchanged them. Because if they were truly a beginner, one beginner session gave them so little that I no longer offer single sessions. My smallest package is 6 sessions.
That's true for most coaches, too. I mean, the good ones anyway. The good ones tend to do it in packages just because everybody who's really good at this knows you have to. You can't just do it in one go. You have to have a number of different times where you're going through stuff and working on it before it finally starts to click.
There's only been one time that I had one session with a client that I felt it was really satisfying to both her and to me.
Oh.
And that's because she is somebody who, she wasn't a life coach, but she'd been doing a lot of processing and knew a lot of metaphysical tools. And so she came to me with one specific something, and she said, this is one area I have not been able to break through, and I'm hoping you can help me with it. And ironically, I was doing my normal stuff, but because she knew so much, she was second guessing everything I was doing. And so I thought by doing stuff that she was familiar with, that would give her a sense of comfort. But I was watching the clock, and at 30 minutes, I went, you know what? We're not going to. I didn't say this to her, but I thought, she's getting in the way of her own progress. So I just asked my inner being, what can I do to help her? Because we have 30 minutes to get her breakthrough. And a process came to me that I could tell when I started doing it with her, she had no idea what I was doing. And she just had to trust. And she went through it, and she got the breakthrough. And this is fascinating. At the end, she goes, I don't even care to know what you did or how you did it. I'm so pleased with the outcome. And we parted like, yay, this was a great, successful thing. I knew I'd probably never hear from her again, and I haven't. That was probably 4 years ago. But that's the only time I can tell you a single session was highly successful, because she knew exactly what she needed, and she came in with many powerful beliefs that supported her. She just had one area that was really sticky. And so we were able to knock through it.
So she'd done a lot of work already, basically.
She'd done a ton of her own work, yeah. And this was just one that she was sick and tired of not being able to break through on her own. But outside of that, it's ironic, because if you go to a licensed professional counselor, that takes insurance and that kind of thing, most people I know go for an extended period of time. But that's because the copay is so small, they're willing to put in more time with that kind of a counselor.
Right.
But when they pay for a life coaches, there is no such thing as life coaches don't take insurance. That's not part of the medical community, because we're not part of the medical community. And so that's where money becomes a little bit more of a sticking point.
Right.
Yeah. And yet I remember years ago, and I was like 1/3 as efficient in my processing as I am today. This one gal came to me who used to go to the medical psychotherapist kind of thing. And she had one session at first, and she said, "Oh my God, this one session has equaled 10 years of what I've done in the past."
Wow.
And she stuck with me until I moved. And then she was really pissed off at me because I moved. And if I hadn't, she'd probably still be coming to me.
Wow.
But anyway, I didn't mean to get off on, the value of life coaching, but I do think it's valuable. And, my friend Rhonda helped me move through some stuff yesterday because she could see things from a different point of view than me. And she asked me questions. Here's the cool thing. She never told me anything, and she didn't tell me what to believe. She asked me questions, and those questions helped to bring those answers inside of me. So I answered my own stuff. I'm the one who made my own belief change. She just helped me poke around with questions.
Well, that raises the next question, the next logical one in the series. We've talked about what a beginner should do. We've talked about what somebody who has some experience with the law of attraction and understands it fairly well, doesn't necessarily understand all of it. Somebody we might call an intermediate person. We've talked about what they can do. What if somebody is actually advanced and they want to learn the quantum leap system? Because that's not something you're going to find in Abraham Hicks. I'm not sure what teachers you would go to for that now that I think about it. There's probably one or two out there that I don't know about, but what's the way that the advanced person goes about it?
If somebody's really advanced with law of attraction, I would imagine they already have a really good relationship with their inner being. And if they really want it, say, inner being, how do I get this?
Okay.
Hey, I want to do quantum leaps. What, bring that into my awareness. And, they'll connect with the right person. Or it'll be call Wendy.
Could be. Hey, you never know.
Absolutely.
So
because somebody like myself who's advanced, I have a great value on somebody else who knows more than me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
So start with the inner being. I mean, that's really the key message for the advanced person. Just start right there. Don't mess around. Just start having the conversation and ask the questions that you're really wanting to ask.
I mean, I didn't just call Rhonda out of the blue yesterday. My inner being guided me to call Rhonda.
Ah.
I kind of had Rhonda on my mind for a couple days. And interesting, she told me I was on her mind for a couple days. Until I was in the middle of my day yesterday and I saw my cell phone and I just got this nudge. Text her, see if she's available. And I did. And, I got to tell you, normally she's really busy. And I said, do you have any time tonight or tomorrow? She goes, yeah, how about tonight at 5? I'm like, son of a gun. But it's all inner being work. It's all following the guidance, And I do think, because I have been thinking about it, maybe the unique offering that I have as a life coach, the thing that sets me apart, is I can help people do quantum leaps. Because now I'm thinking, holy cow, I've been doing this for a long time. But I never thought to acknowledge that. And so I think I'll be doing a whole lot more quantum leaping purposefully, deliberately, because I know I can and because I've been doing it and I'm good at it.
Yeah, oh, sure.
Quantum leap coaching, here I am.
I'd be surprised if you didn't do it, actually. I'd be stunned because this is very clearly your next quantum leap. It's your next step.
It seems like the next logical step to acknowledge that I do make quantum leaps, that I'm highly successful at it, and of course I can do it with other people. If my little sister is listening, she's somebody that I actually help her with her quantum leaps without her even knowing it. I have to go in the back door with her because she grew up with me. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, Wendy's always weird. Wendy's always doing something weird. But, I just learned how to talk in a different way, and I get around her resistances to the weirdness of her sister. And then the next thing she knows, she's experiencing the result of a quantum leap.
That's pretty big. That's huge.
Yeah, I figure if you can help make a difference with your family, you're really in a good place. Because, oh my gosh, for years my family just said I was weird. Because I am weird. I love and embrace my weirdness today.
Yeah, as long as you experience the weirdness as a benefit, as a strength, then being weird is perfectly fine. In fact, it's a
Well,
good
when
thing.
people say it with an ugly tone of voice, it comes across as a criticism.
Right.
But, and I won't go into the story, but there was one day, it was on my 31st birthday. My two sisters were there at the birthday party, and they both said something to me that, like, they were picking on me and making fun of me in front of a room full of people that were not family. They were like my coworkers. They were people, they were my friends. So they didn't know that my family looked at me as weird. And I just thought it was in poor taste that they decided to do this in a public forum. And I don't know, something rose up inside of me like, I'm done with this one. And I just looked at the two of them. I stood up. They were sitting on the couch. I stood up and I said, you know what? You have called me weird for as long as I can remember. But you know what? The thing that you're calling weird is the very thing that makes me really unique as a costume designer. And I get paid really well for what I do because I'm weird. And I felt my coworkers who were theatrical and they're the ones I hobnobbed with, I really felt their support like, yeah, we're all weird too. So don't make fun of our friend Wendy being weird. We love weird. And that overt shaming ended that day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I owned and embraced my weird, and I went, hey, this is a part of my life. It's what makes me unique. It's what makes me creative. It's what I get paid for.
Well, that sounds really weird.
And if I were to tell you it was all because I was wearing socks that had glitter on it, they were like glitter socks, that's what they were picking on. They were picking on my glittery socks.
So they're picking on something that essentially was a forerunner of something that became very popular a few years later. Because you had the shoes with all the lights on them and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, that was like a huge thing.
Well, I didn't even make the socks. I bought the socks.
You bought the socks.
Like they were already like trending and fashionable. I'm like, why are they picking on my socks? What's up with this?
That's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Well, this has been a good exploration of Quantum Leap. I do want to take a moment to do something that we don't do often enough on the afternoon podcast, but I want to remind people who are not yet subscribers to subscribe and also to share the fact that you're subscribing. Now, most of the people who listen are subscribers. We know this because looking at the numbers of, who's downloading based on IP addresses and so forth, it's pretty clear. The average listener listens to 45 episodes. That means most people are subscribing. There's no way they're going to listen to 45, looking at them one at a time. They're going to have them come right to the smartphone, make it real easy, and it's just play them one after another, on whatever their schedule is. But for those few people who are new to the podcast, we want to recommend to you also to become subscribers. It's perfectly free. It doesn't cost you anything. All of the instructions are right on the homepage at loatoday.net. In fact, not only do you find the instructions for how to subscribe, but you also find how to get in touch with us in case you ever want to come on to a show. You can just basically connect into the Zoom platform. We love to have people drop in on us. And it also gives instructions on how to share. Well, actually, it isn't so much instructions. It's like a list of the longest list of social media icons you've ever seen in your life. So if there's a social media site or social media platform out there, I guarantee you we have the button for it, and you can share anywhere that you want to. So please, just want to make sure that you take the time and subscribe and share. It's going to be very worthwhile for you, and anybody you share it with is going to be very, very worthwhile for them. So just had to get that in.
And if you want to start to boost up positive messages in your day so that you can move toward the place that you can have things shift in your life faster and become better and bigger and badder, like I like it to be, download our shows so that you can be listening to them one after another after another. And you know what? Even if you can't pay really close attention, just let it be on in the background.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I've listened to so many things in my life, just stuff on in the background. And I know that my mind is picking up stuff both consciously and unconsciously. And having it on in the background and you not really paying close attention is better than having something on that doesn't support who you are.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. So it's been great. Let's do it again tomorrow and see. I don't know what the topic's going to be. Maybe we go back to the book, but we got a big hurdle to try to overcome because this is a very, very high standard we set today.
All righty.
All right. And we'll invite you all back next time as well here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye for now.